Okay, this is part two. And where you just left off is you were telling me about you were working with the high level energy healers and you had just created this curriculum for the
Energy, harmony, alignment, the new
there you go.
modality that, was a download. It was given to me in that moment working with my colleague. And what I didn't know at the time was happening was it was us, the beings that I channel, that were working with me, with her, to bring through this energy, this modality, for the activation of our divine essence. So what they did was they gave me little baby steps. Otherwise, probably would have not done it. They knew, that I would have to go very gradually, very gently into this process. And so when they gave me those words, united souls of heaven and earth, that was like, oh, that's what I was doing within the physical body. I was bringing heaven and earth into the physical body for that activation of the divine essence. I could feel that when I was working with people. So when they gave me those words, that's what United US stood for, I thought, that's them. That's who's working with me, and that's how I, was able to do that energy work with people. And so it was just another little piece of the puzzle. And so as I was doing my writings, the journals, the angel writing, and it all started to come together then. Then I knew I was working with my Council of Light. They were calling themselves us, United Souls of Heaven and Earth. And when I would ask them who they were, they would say, we are you and you are us. We are all one. And so I never questioned it after that. I just knew it felt wonderful. It was very, very loving energy. I could always feel it in my body as an expansion of joy.
And what time frame, what year was this?
That would have been, good question, in 2004, 5, in that area. And then as I was doing the writings, again, the writings were over a period from probably 2001 to 2006. And yeah, it was about that 6-year period. And then so when I was realizing that I was channeling. And I had been to channels before, and I've been to Ramtha. If anybody knows who Ramtha is, she's a pretty kind of out there channel, and there's Cryon, and there's Steve Brother. There's many people now who are receiving information from the other dimensions for our human evolution right now. And so I knew what it was. I've seen it. I've been there. I've been in the audience when someone's channeling, and I felt what that feels like. It's magnificent. There's no words to explain it.
It's an intense energy, isn't it?
It's intense. It's beautiful. It's mystical. I always felt wonderful after, being in a group that, with a channel. And so I realized, I started to realize that I was channeling in my writing and never told anybody. And then it was in 2006, May 2006, I was actually listening to a radio internet program where someone was channeling, and I'm just, taking in the energy and listening, and all of a sudden I realized that what they were saying was very similar to what I'd been writing for 6 years. And so as soon as I had that thought, it was like the booming voice of God said, and now it's time to do it live. And I just thought, well, okay, I've seen it. I've been there. I've seen people do it. I know it's very real. And so I just said, and how am I to do that? And I said, gather people and speak. And I went, yep, I can do that. So I went out and I bought a little digital recorder that I still use for the recording of the channels. And I asked 2 very close friends of mine. I said to them, I think, I'm going to do this. I'm being asked to do this. Will you come and sit with me? And so they said, sure. And so, they came over. I turned on the tape recorder. I have an invocation that was given to me, and I said it. And we all had our eyes closed, and all of a sudden I could feel this shift of energy within me. And then I started speaking, and it just came through me. It was about 30 minutes almost, 20 to 30 minutes of I was speaking. And all of a sudden I could feel the energy shift, and they said thank you, and I knew they were gone. I opened my eyes, and when I looked at my friends, they were weeping. And whatever had been said touched them really deeply. And what happened for me, it was like being in a dream. I remembered that I knew I was speaking, I remember little bits and pieces of it, but I didn't remember all of it. So they shared with me, and of course we had the recording, of how profoundly it had affected them and how personal it was. So I thought, wow, that's interesting, and we listened to it. And so then I got brave and invited 4 friends the next time, because you see, I had to have people that would love me no matter what happened, that would accept whether something happened or didn't happen. So for me, these 4 people sitting in front of me, and I just, did the same thing. I did the invocation, the stream of consciousness came through, and then I opened my eyes, and they had the same reaction. Just, wow, it was really meaningful to them, and really shifted things in them, in both their thoughts and their energy and their emotions. And so that was in May of 2006, and then for June 606, which was a 666 alignment, they asked me to gather people at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. And I did, and again, very hand-selected people, because I had to feel comfortable with it. This was pretty new to me, and I didn't want to be seen as a weirdo, so I gathered, there were 11 people actually in the evening session, and same thing happened. I turned the tape recorder on, did the invocation, it just flowed through me, these beautiful words and energy, and opened my eyes, and everybody's going, wow, and sharing their experience of it. So then I knew it was real. I knew that I wasn't imagining it, or, it was just, and it was, I just always felt it as beautiful, loving energy. And from then on, I started channeling once a month, doing a group, then twice a month, 3 times a month, till by December of that year I was doing 3 times a week. And what happened was, I didn't know that the energy that was coming through me was very high frequency, and it literally burned out my body. I physically was very tired. I had a hard time, thinking or planning or doing anything. And so I called my friend, a very dear friend of mine in Florida, and I said, can I come down and visit you and just rest for a while? I needed some warmth, I needed quiet. And so I sublet my apartment in Toronto, and I packed up what I felt I needed for a couple of months, and drove to Florida, and that was 4 years ago. And had my 6 weeks of rest, and then got guided to just keep going. And by then I was rejuvenated, I was ready to channel again and do healing work, and they showed me where to go, and I just went from place to place through all of the southern states. Spent some time in Texas and Sedona and El Paso, and different places. Got guided to come up through California, and thinking I was going to stay in California because that's where I wanted to be, but no, got guided to go on up to British Columbia, and through, did work in Oregon and Washington, and zigzag through British Columbia. I ended up in Mexico for a while, just kind of moving back and forth all around through the continent, and being guided.
And tell me, each time, you didn't always know who your host was going to be, did you?
Oh, I did not, no.
And a lot of times you had no idea, and you definitely didn't know them.
Nope. No, it was all complete trust. And what happened was, once I was feeling better, I decided, I knew they were guiding me to travel, and I contacted some friends in Texas, so that was my first stop, and I did some work with them while I was there. And then got guided to go to Sedona. And I'm thinking, Sedona's a great place. I've heard lots about it, but I didn't know anybody there at all. And but I have a pretty extensive emailing list, and that's why I kind of put it out on the list. But when I was in Texas, I went to the Unity Church there with my friend, and so I just kind of talked to a few people, saying, I'm going to Sedona. Do you know anybody in Sedona that I can connect with? And they, the minister actually said, well, no, I don't know anybody in Sedona, but I do know, I have a really good friend who's the minister of the Unity Church in El Paso, Texas. Well, you know the geography at all. I'm in Dallas, Texas, and El Paso's down here, and Sedona's over there. So I would have had to go south to go north. And I thought, no thanks. I'm looking for Sedona. So when I went to bed that night, I got guided that I was supposed to go to El Paso, and I went, okay, I will go to El Paso. I called the minister the next day, and I said, I'm coming through on my way to Sedona, and I could see her kind of go, okay. And she knew I wasn't quite in the line of direction. And I said, I'm looking, to connect with someone who might, host me for a night while I, head on through. And she goes, oh, we have this great fella who loves to host people who come, to visit through El Paso. I'll connect you with. His name was Tony. And so he said, so she connected me with him. And then, so that's kind of how it began. Meeting people that I didn't know, that then I did some energy work with them in exchange for accommodation. They led me to the next place, the next person, and it's just been this amazing dance almost of meeting beautiful conscious people, of sharing my work, of sharing us. I let go of my apartment in Toronto. I had sublet it. I just let it go. My friends went in and sold my furniture, put my personal belongings in one of their basements, and it's just been this magical journey and adventure of sharing us, of sharing energy, of empowering people, of meeting very conscious people, and knowing that the world is a pretty amazing and miraculous place.